I've made well over $100,000 investing in ETFs, but I also lost thousands of dollars making beginner mistakes that probably could be avoided. And so if you're getting into ETF investing or investing in general in 2025, here are 10 things that you absolutely need to know before you put another dollar in. Look, investing into ETFs seem simple at first. You buy a basket of stocks, let it grow, retire rich. Easy, right? But most beginners make the same expensive mistakes and nobody tells you about them until you've actually already lost the money. So whether you're starting fresh from 2025 or rebalancing your portfolio, these are 10 things that will save you thousands of dollars. All right, now first off, what even is an ETF? An ETF is an exchange traded fund. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. Think of it like a basket of investments. Instead of buying Apple, Microsoft, or Amazon separately, you can buy one thing that just owns all of them and tens, maybe hundreds of other stocks. People know ETFs best for tracking stock market indexes like the S&P 500, like VOO, SPY. You buy it once, you own pieces of 500 of the largest companies in the US stock market. But here's the part that most people miss. ETFs aren't just limited to stocks. They can hold anything like commodities like gold or oil, bonds, or even entire industries. And that's the key between simply an index fund or an ETF. An index fund, tracks a market index. An ETF can be the market or any slice of it that you want. That's it. That's an ETF. An index fund can be an ETF, but an ETF doesn't necessarily make it an index fund, if that makes sense. If that was just a bunch of gibberish to you, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter too much. Number 2, overlap is the hidden killer. Here's a mistake that cost me thousands of dollars. Buying multiple ETFs without knowing that they own the same stocks. Let's say you buy the ETFs QQQ, VGT, or VOO. Seems super diversified, right? 3 different ETFs, but what you don't know is what they actually hold is almost the same. QQQ is 50% tech. The top holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon. VGT is 100% tech, and 40% of it is just Apple and Microsoft. Now, here's the problem. QQQ and VGT look different on the surface, but under the hood, they're basically holding the same things. They overlap about 33% in the actual companies, but nearly 50% by the weight, meaning half of the money in each fund is tied up in the exact same things, exact same few stocks. And that's because in ETFs, every company doesn't carry equal weight. Larger companies like Apple, Microsoft take up massive proportions of the fund. So let's say even if you're investing into 500 different companies, most of that, percentage or money is probably in around 4 to 10 companies instead of 500. So you're not super diverse as you think. In VGT, for example, Microsoft and Apple, those two alone make up 40% of the total fund. So even if you think you're diversified, again, your portfolio might actually just live or die based on what a few tech giants do. And so what you have to realize is that you're not really diversifying that much. You're really just doubling down on tech. So when you already own VTI, adding QQQ or VGT just means you're really just doubling down on the same names, Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia, instead of actually diversifying, which is what VTI is supposed to be doing. Simple and one clean ETF that does a lot of the heavy lift. So if you think you're diversified, again, you're not. You just own Apple and Microsoft 3 to 4 times over. Now, just because it overlaps, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. I own VOO, VGT, VTI, VTSAX, things that, overlap. The problem is that if you don't exactly know your true weights or you're not aware of this, you may not know that you're taking way more concentrated risk than you think. And that's how people lose big and freak out, panic sell because big tech crashes and they thought that their ETF portfolio that was super diversified goes down by a lot. They thought that they were super safe, but they were really just all in on 4 to 5 companies. The point is to know what you actually own. Now, me personally, I own a total stock market index fund and I own QQQ. But the difference is I understand that they overlap. My personal goal was to get more exposure to tech, and that's why I did it. If my goal was just to diversify and to have broader exposure, I would have just stayed with one. Again, the goal is to know what you actually own, so when stuff hits the fan, you don't freak out. And that's actually my goal for the next couple of years, is to really diversify the type of ETFs, not just in tech. I have a lot of exposure to tech. I have, a lot of diversified, broad market ETFs, but a lot of it is still in tech. And so I want to really diversify where my money is. I want to go more into retail, healthcare, not just in tech and AI, because, if the bubble pops, knock on wood, if something happens, I'm really exposed to that downside. So that's one of my main goals for the next couple of years. We'll see how it goes. Number 3, best ETFs aren't always the best for you. Everyone online screams about the best ETFs. QQQ 17% average returns, VGT 19% average, VTI 11% average returns. Cool. So you throw $500 a month into any of these for 25 years at 50% average, and boom, you're a millionaire, $1.3 million. But here's what they don't tell you. These numbers are just the 10-year average during one of the biggest bull runs in history. And so what happens when tech crashes or, a bubble busts? What comes up must come down. Or what happens when interest rates spike again? Or when we hit a recession or something happens? Those best ETFs suddenly become the worst. It happened before. During the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s, tech stock lost nearly 80% of their value, and it took the NASDAQ almost 15 years to recover. And today, we're seeing echoes of that again with AI, driving the same kind of hype and concentration risk. Now, I'm not saying that don't invest into AI. I have a lot of AI and tech stocks, but what I'm saying is it's not all glitter is gold. If your whole entire portfolio is concentrated into one sector, when something inevitably bad happens, if that sector goes all the way down, so does your portfolio. That's why diversification matters a lot, because when everyone's chasing the same shiny thing, the fall hits even harder. Number 4, the fees matter more than you think. A 1% fee doesn't sound like much, but over 30 years, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. For example, $500 a month for 30 years at 8% returns. Let's say that you're paying a 0.03% fee in VOO. You have around $745,000. But at 1% fee, you'll have only $630,000. That's $115,000 less. Gone. And that's why I only buy low-cost ETFs like VOO, VTI, QQQ, things with expense ratios under 0.10%. Anything above, really, I feel like is a little too much, and I feel like I'm getting ripped off. They would have to perform, astronomically well, or maybe be like a high dividend, high income ETF that maybe when I retire, I'll buy. And what people don't really realize is that those fees don't just come at once. They come out every single year. Take ARK, for example. It charges a whopping 0.75% in fees. Again, that may sound small, but over 30 years, even just a 1% fee can eat up away almost $300,000 from a $500 a month investment, even if the returns are good. That's a lot of money. That's compound interest literally working against you. And here's where it gets worse. A lot of financial advisors do the exact same thing. That's why you ask any personal finance, expert if they recommend financial advisors, a lot of them say no. They'll put you in the exact same ETFs that you could buy yourself and charge you 1% every single year for their help and privilege. That's not active management, that's a tax on your wealth. So remember, every dollar in fees is a dollar that's not compounding for you. It's compounding against you. Keep your costs low, keep your fees low, and you'll quietly outperform, the professionals over time. Number 5, over-diversification is killing your returns. Everyone preaches this classic 3-fund portfolio that I even mentioned in the beginning: US stocks, international stocks, bonds. It sounds safe, right? Because it's well diversified. But here's the problem. The last 10 years, the international market, 3.7% per year. The bonds, 1.3% per year. Meanwhile, VOO did 12 to 13%. Now, I know this may be short term, but by diversifying yourself, you're basically anchoring your portfolio with dead weight. And even Buffett said it yourself, diversification is protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you're doing. Now, I'm not saying to go all in on one thing, but stop over-diversifying just because of some rule in the 1980s told you to. The goal isn't just maximum diversification, it's the best return with long-term safety and consistency. And especially if you're young, you don't need 40% in the bonds dragging you down. You need growth. Maybe once you're close to retirement, you need more bonds, you need more international stocks. But if you're young, if you have 10 to 20 years, you don't need that right now. You need growth. Number 6, stop tinkering with your portfolio. You learn something new, so you change your whole portfolio. Someone on Reddit says REITs are the move, so you add more REITs. YouTube says international is coming back, so you dump more into VXUS. Crypto ETF launches, so you're all in. Stop, please. Constant tinkering is your fastest way to destroy your returns. The average investor underperforms the market by 3 to 4% annually, not because they picked bad investments, but because they keep changing them. Here's the rule. Pick your ETFs based on your situation, your goals. Leave them alone. Number 7, learn the games, don't imitate the player. I see this all the time. People screenshot some influencer portfolio, or people are posting, their exact thing and they copy it. But here's the problem. Their portfolio was built for their situation, not yours. Maybe they're 45 with kids with a mortgage, you're 23 with no debt. Maybe they retired and need income, you're trying to grow your wealth. Your goals are very different. Your risk tolerance is super different. Your timeline is different. So here's what you need to do instead. Define your objectives. Is it growth, income, stability? Now, this varies with age. Understand what each ETF, what each investment actually does, and make sure it matches your situation and what you believe in. If you don't know what you're investing in, if you don't really believe it, when things hit the fan, which it always does, you're gonna drop the ball and freak out. Stop changing it every month. Build your portfolio for you, not for someone else. And again, invest in the long term. Now, I added to this video specifically because I do share my portfolio and investments a lot. I have all of my investments literally on this free app called Blossom that you could get in the description down below, not sponsored. But I share my portfolio all the time. And I do this not because I want you to copy, but because I want to inspire you to start investing. I don't want you to just copy every single thing, please do not do that. But I want you to feel inspired and at least take some action. You need to be making decisions for your own self, making the due diligence, researching your own companies, pressing that buy button yourself. Looking at my portfolio or anyone else's is just baby steps. Everything else, you're gonna have to do by yourself. Number 8, automate everything or you'll fail. Should we wait for the dip? Is the market too high right now? Should I invest in all-time highs? If you're asking these questions, you've already lost and letting the market and money control you. You can't time the market. Neither can professionals with supercomputers and MBAs. No one knows if the stock market's gonna go up or down, to the T. No one knows. But here's what works. Automating your investments and dollar cost averaging, buying whether or not the market is up or down. Every week or month, same amount, no matter what the market is doing. It's up, you buy. It's down, maybe you'll buy a little more. It crashes, put all the chips in. And here's the funny part. This boring strategy, it usually wins. And it's been my strategy, for years. And I've had, amazing returns. I've actually beat the stock market. I guess not all 4 years if you look at the graph, but I've actually been beating the stock market. And that's really because I understood this one principle. Dollar cost average, invest. But when it crashes, when there's opportunities to buy the dip, go all in. And that's what I tried to do in 2020, 2022. I didn't really have that much money or didn't really know what I was doing, but I invested during that time. And I really took advantage of the April tariff crash. And everything dropped like 50%. I put as much money as possible. And the top performers were people who forgot they even had an account in the first place. They weren't trading, they didn't panic, they just let compound interest do its thing. And there are other studies that back it up over the last decade. Passive index fund investors earned around 7.6% per year, while the average active investors only made 5.5%, mostly because of overtrading and bad timing. In other words, the less you do, the more you make. Now, the market tech sector is hot right now, so that's maybe why I'm feeling myself and I'm sharing you that I beat the market. But maybe 2 years ago, I was getting whooped by the market. I was down a lot. And the only thing that really stayed consistently profitable and stress-free was my auto investments into ETFs. So a couple $100 a month automatically goes into VTSAX every single week. And VTSAX is just the passively managed mutual fund version of VTI. It's the total stock market. I don't check the market, it just happens automatically. And this has been going on for the past 6 years and has made me more money than any strategy ever could. Plus, I didn't lift a finger. Number 9, understand your actual risk. Here's a question most people don't ask. Can I actually handle a 40% loss? Because when the market drops 30 to 40%, that's when you'll find out if you're actually built for this. If you're gonna panic sell when the portfolio tanks, then you're in the wrong ETFs, you're investing in the wrong things, or you haven't really earned your stripes yet. You may need more stable options, more diversified, more bonds, because that's all that you can handle. Different ETFs that track different things have different risk portfolios. QQQ, VGT, tech heavy, volatile stocks, high risk. VOO, VTI, moderate risk. Super low risk, bonds, treasury bills, CDs. Know yourself. Build your portfolio around your risk tolerance, not what's hot right now. Because if you can't stomach the volatility, which I'm telling you always happens, you'll sell at the bottom and lose everything. Number 10, the biggest mistake is just waiting. Here's the harsh truth. Every year, every day you wait costs you thousands of dollars. If you start at 22 years old at $300 a month, at 22, you'll have around $1.4 million at the age of retirement. If you start at 32 years old, you would have around $640,000. Same contributions, same returns, but 10 years earlier and $760,000 more. I started off with, just a couple $100, not $10,000. Not when I understood everything, just couple $100. And honestly, may have been less because I was super broke back then. But the point is, I just started before I knew anything, before I even had a lot of money, because the best time to start was literally 10 years ago when I was in the womb. The second best time to start is right now. Stop waiting for this perfect moment. Stop waiting for, money to come. Stop waiting for you to know everything. Just start. You'll learn on the way. Do it broke. Do it scared. Just do it now. And so here's your action plan for the rest of 2025. Open a brokerage account, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, Webull. My favorite is Webull. I'll leave it in the description below. Pick 1 to 3 ETFs max like VOO, QQQ, and set up automatic weekly or monthly investments. Check it overlaps, which we just said it does. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but just understand the risks that you have. Stop tinkering with everything. Stop having this shiny object syndrome and investing into whatever TikTok has nowadays. Let your investments compound and keep investing. That's it. And if you want to see my actual portfolio breakdown and how I'm investing in 2025, check out this video right here. Now go set up that automatic investments. Your future self will thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Till next time.